All right, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing? Hope you are doing well. Welcome to our September State of the Platform address. Now, you will notice that we're doing things slightly differently this time. We're on a Zoom webinar instead of a Zoom meeting. There's quite a number of reasons for that. Namely, we believe it's going to be a smoother process. But let me just check before we kick off, before we go any further. You should be able to see the chat box and you should be able to communicate with hosts and panelists. So do me a favor, go ahead and just jump into the chat and give me a yes if this is all good. If you can chat with us and it's coming through. And Ryan, if we want to just test perhaps your camera and audio and make sure you're good to go.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, can hear you. Perfect.
Yeah, my video isn't sharing because I haven't got permission yet.
Oh,
I need permission from the big dog.
Well, then allow me to do that for you. Have a look. I'll tell you what, here we go. If I make you a co-host, you should be able to do that now.
All right.
There we go.
Yep. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. Fantastic. And I see Lania, I see Heike, nice to see you. Sandra, Nancy, Luke, Donna, Patrice, Sarah, Alison, Greg, Ian, Shahab, Dr. Kyle, Crystal, Jean, Louise, loads of you. Fantastic. So good. So good to have you all. I am hopeful that the way we have it set up means that your chat can go to all of us. Now, let me just check. Ryan, can you see the chat that's coming in?
Yep, I can see it all coming through.
Wonderful. Fantastic. That's one of the benefits of these webinars is because when we were doing it as a Zoom meeting, previous State of the Platform addresses, you had to select the right person for your question to go to, and questions were getting missed, and we don't want to miss those. So anyway, welcome back. We've got some big updates for you, and we're very, very excited to share them. I don't want to steal Ryan's thunder here too much because I know that he probably would have mentioned this, but seeing as he's got a lot to share and I don't, I'm going to pinch this one. The platform is at the moment in an incredible place, and one of our benchmarks for figuring out if that's the case, as you know, is we've been working very closely with you. And in the beginning, there's lots of stuff coming into the help desk, and we're communicating with you and talking with you and figuring out, what you need and what you want. We're at a point right now where hardly anything comes into the help desk. Now, please don't go and flood it immediately just to load it up. But that's a really good sign, the fact that you are all loving the platform, getting on with building your businesses, and there's not much that you need at the moment. That's a really, really good sign for us. And of course, a good sign for you too. And we've put a heck of a lot of time, energy, and attention into some things we're going to be revealing today, and some things that we spoke about on previous calls that we told you were coming, other things that perhaps you didn't know were coming that we're about to reveal to you today, and all of this getting us closer to being ready to open Funneler back up to invite more people in. But as you all well know, you're our beta users. We take you very seriously. We want to work very closely with you. And so we've been closed for many months now and just focusing on working with you. So Ryan's got some incredible updates, very, very exciting stuff. It's a big one this week. And that being said, Ryan's actually going to host this entire call because I'm not really needed. Ryan's going to share with you all the stuff that he's got prepared, and then he'll take some questions at the end. But there are some updates that are coming today that I've been begging Ryan for a very long time. And today we finally have them, which is awesome. If you're excited and ready for this month's updates, just go ahead and give me a number 1 in the chat box. Give me a quick number 1 in the chat. Let me just test that we're here, because I actually miss seeing your faces. And me and Ryan don't want to feel like we're just talking to a brick wall. There we go. Loads of ones coming in. Absolutely fantastic. Good stuff. Well, without further ado, Ryan, over to you. I'm really, really excited for the stuff you got to share. And I can't wait for everyone to hear what you're revealing today as well.
All right. Well, we've got quite a few things to get through, but as always, I'm going to try and move through everything that I have to say as quickly as possible so that we can spend more time on the Q&A. I know that we don't have many opportunities to engage directly where you can ask me things about the platform, etc. So I want to make sure that you have the maximum potential time with me to engage and ask your questions and to get your answers. It looks like John's offline. So the lunatics are officially in charge of the asylum, and we're gonna do this unsupervised. So the first thing I want to talk about is where we are right now. Then I'm going to go into some of the features and so on that we've released in this version, and then I'm going to close things out by talking about what we're going to be doing next. And right at the end, we're going to do Q&A, and I predict we're going to have a good 30 minutes of Q&A. I'm going to try keep this to an hour. So we've got another 55 minutes, and hopefully I can go nice and quickly through everything so that we can spend a lot of time on the Q&A section. So here's where we are right now. I told you, well, firstly, there's some good and there's some bad news. I told you that the goal a few of these webinars ago, I told you that the goal was for us to get to a gold version by the end of September. The bad news is that we're not going to get a gold version by the end of September. The good news is that we are going to get a silver version by the end of September. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the general software release process, if I make a really simplified version, you have like an alpha version. And some of you on the call today, I've noticed some of your names. Some of you were part of the alpha version. That's going back quite a while. And we had a whole group of alpha users who use that system for a period of time. Then it gets into the beta phase. And most of you guys on the call at the moment are our beta users. And then you move into release candidate or silver phase. And then finally you get to production or gold phase. And we are now moving the next release, which is coming out next week. That's going to mark the transition from the beta stage to the silver stage, which is pretty exciting for a number of reasons. And there are a number of different benchmarks that we use to gauge whether or not we are successfully transitioning into these different stages. And so what does it mean from a practical standpoint for you that we are now moving into the silver stage of the product? It means that we are basically at a very stable level. So there are a couple of key things I want to just mention. The first thing is that, and I wrote this down because there are a lot of nines, our uptime at this point is 99.99996%. So that means we've had over the last few months about 2 or 3 minutes of total unscheduled downtime. And that was actually related to us upgrading some of our infrastructure. So the stability in terms of our overall environment is just absolutely rock solid at the moment. And we're feeling very excited about that. The other thing is that we've had roughly a 91% reduction in reports related to bugs in the system now compared to when we got started. So the stability of the overall system is just, you know, in a totally new place at this point, and that's among active users. So but active users to tickets created related to bugs, that's dropped by 91%. And the bugs that remain are generally in very, I don't want to say unimportant areas, but they're not in business critical areas. There's a typo here, there's a styling issue there, you know, things like that. Primarily, there are a couple of other bugs, but primarily really small things. We've gotten to a really good state in terms of stability. And then the last thing is that almost all, and I'm going to show you some of this now, almost all of the high demand functionality has now been completed. There's only one exception. I know a lot of you guys are really looking forward to the forms functionality. That's the one thing that we don't have, but we have managed to get out pretty much, with the exception of that one feature, we've managed to get all of the high demand features done. So the features that remain are things that, haven't, one person wants this, one person wants that. That's kind of where we are right now. Anything where there's a real demand for it has been done. So this marks a transition from beta to silver. And we've got a couple of things that we still need to do to get to gold. And I'm going to talk about that at the end of the video. So if that makes sense, just drop a 1 in the chat. I just want to make sure that you guys are still there, that you're still with me. And then, excellent. Whole bunch of ones coming through. So I'm going to move swiftly along onto what we've done now. So this is a really exciting moment. To get to silver has been a really long journey. You guys joined, obviously, when we were in the beta stage, but we had already had about a year in the alpha stage before that. So it's been a really long road getting to this point, and the stability and the feedback from the community and so on. It's just been epic, and it's very exciting to be where we are right now. So I'm going to share my screen, and There we go. You guys should be able to see my screen at this point. And I'm just trying to see how I can continue to see the chat while looking at the screen as well. Believe it or not, this is my first time hosting a Zoom meeting all by myself. But just drop a 2 in the chat so I can distinguish if you could see my screen there for that moment. Okay, cool. I'm going to start sharing again. Stop sharing, see the chat, go back into sharing mode. Great. So we've got my screen up here. Now, there are a couple of things that you may have noticed. The first thing is that we've taken a couple of steps towards our gold styling. So I'm going to start with the small things, and then I'm going to get to the more and more exciting things as we go. So the first thing is that we've moved to, we've made quite a few changes in terms of the look and feel of the system. So we've moved to a flat design. The design is quite radically different from what it was before, at least in my opinion. When I showed John, he asked me what the difference was. I was like, oh man, John, you can't be serious. But we've made quite significant changes to the overall styling of the system. And I think that it's looking way nicer now than it did in the beginning. If you look at things like the reports and how we're handling filters and the reports drop downs and so on, the general look and feel of the system, how we're doing modals, etc. So we've got a gold look and feel, like what the production version of the system is going to look like. And we are, basically the next release is going to round that out. So that's the first and the smallest thing, although to me it's a pretty big deal. I've been looking forward to this styling update for quite a while, but that's the smallest thing that we've done in this new version. The next thing on the list is the domain manager, and the impact that this has made has been absolutely enormous. So I'm going to go to domains over here. Let me just see if one of these is actually set up. Okay, it is. So the domain manager, guys, has been the #1 source of tickets for the past since you guys got started. When you move your domains across, your domain records were deleted automatically, and you had to re-add them, and it was just it was an absolute nightmare for you guys migrating if you had an existing business. If you came in with a brand new domain, you just set it up, there's no problem. But if you had an existing website and you had an existing business running on that domain, and you had emails and so on all set up, moving to the system involved resetting everything up. And many of you guys didn't have the expertise necessary to do that efficiently. So we have totally overhauled the domain manager, and this went from our #1 source of tickets to basically a non-feature in our support desk. So what have we done with the domain manager? Well, I can't demo the whole thing to you right now. Last time I showed you some mock-ups of what we were planning, but I'll just say that what we've done is we automatically, at this point, when you add a domain, we automatically import all of your domain records so that your websites continue to function, so that your email continues to function. We just bring that all across for you. Now, some of the other cool things that we do is we automatically fix your domain records. So again, this is a really technical thing. A lot of people don't know how to set up their domain to improve or to ensure good deliverability, to improve or ensure security on their websites, etc. And so when we import records, the reason we didn't do this initially is because most domains are so incorrectly configured that we didn't want to import that whole mess. And what we've done in this new version is when we import, we look for conflicting records, we look for mistakes, and we just fix all of those issues for you automatically. We've also added the ability for you to import records in bulk and just all sorts of things around that. And again, before this functionality existed, every person who moved their domain was just struggling and sending in tickets. And at this point, it's basically become again a non-issue. So way easier, and this pretty much eliminated the, let's call it, the hottest spot in the system. So does that make sense to you guys? Just drop a 1 in the chat if that all makes sense, and then I'm going to move on to the next feature. All right, cool. All right, so we're going to go into the next one. The next one is one that John has been begging me for. And I kind of mean that in a very literal sense. John obviously is a partner in the business, and I value him greatly, but we prioritize your feature request above John's feature request. We prioritize the community. And so if John wants something, but the community wants, many people in the community want something more, then we generally will, choose the community first. And that's kind of basically our one of our core values is community first. So as a result, John literally got to a point of very nearly begging for some of this functionality. So I'm just going to jump in there, and I'm sure it's going to be super valuable for everyone. So I've got a funnel over here. I'm going to jump into this funnel, and we've got a couple of new things here. It's all related to the statistics. So the first thing is that instead of showing total visitors, we are now showing unique visitors. So if a person's on a page and they're refreshing the page again and again and again, it's only going to count them as one visitor. That's going to make our statistics a lot, a lot more accurate. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we added is the ability to delete test data. So, and this applies to you obviously as well as John. When you guys create a funnel, generally you're going to go ahead and opt in and test it out to make sure that the flows all work, etc. And that creates a whole bunch of, statistics and activity in your funnel, and you want to go and delete all of that test history. So you can go into reset statistics, and then you can say no to archive stats. I'll explain that in a moment. And you can just delete those stats. You can do that at the level of the funnel as well. So you can go to the top right and you can say reset stats, and you can say, no, you don't want to archive them, and you can delete those stats. And that's going to clear out the funnel so that you have accurate data. So between unique visitors and the ability to clean out test statistics, it's going to radically improve the clarity that you have around your funnels when you look at that information. And then we've got something else that I'm pretty excited about, and that is the ability to create reset points. So instead of just deleting all of your stats, you may have, let's say you're running a split test. You got an experiment running and you decide to change a version of the page, and you want to see how that new version of the page is performing compared to the old version of the page. So you don't necessarily want to delete all of the statistics for previous versions. You just want to see how the latest version compares with previous versions. So instead of deleting the stats, you can go to an individual page, or you can do it to the funnel as a whole, but you can go to the individual page and you can reset stats, and you can then archive those stats. And you can put in a note about what you're doing, or whatever you want for future reference, and you can reset those stats. And what that's going to do is, in our reports, you're then going to be able to see the conversion rates and the statistics by version of the page over time. So if you delete your data, then all of the history is gone. Whereas if you archive that data, that archived data together with the notes is going to be available to you in the reports, so you can compare how things looked before you updated your split test versus after you updated your split test. And over time, you're going to have a report that shows for different periods how the different versions and instances of your page worked. So this functionality is available inside of the funnel builder, and it's also available inside of the messenger. So you can do the same thing for sequences, resetting statistics over there and confirming the results of your split tests and your emails, your open rates, etc. And then the one last thing I'm going to show you here, and I'm aware of the fact that I'm rambling a little bit and I'm burning through our time, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. But the one more thing I'm going to show you here is that you also have the ability to apply date ranges and date searches to the statistics. So you can reset stats periodically, but you can also just put a time filter on to those stats. So you can say, give me all of the data from today or yesterday or this week or the last 7 days. Or you can even go and apply a custom date range where you can say, give me the data between this specific date and that specific date. And again, that's just going to give you more actionable insight into how your funnel is doing. And obviously, John sending masses and masses of traffic to his funnels, this was an essential thing because he needed the actionable metrics that would allow him to make decisions. And so I think this is going to be a hang of a big update and a big advantage to the existing Funneler users, to you guys. So does that all make sense? Again, let's go with 2 this time. If it makes sense, drop some 2s in the chat. All right, cool. And I know that there were quite a few of you guys in the community that had also asked for aspects of this, like the date range functionality. Okay, so that's the next thing on the list. I'm going for 5 specific things. So styles was number 1, domain manager was number 2, the statistics for funnels and for the messenger is number 3. I'm not going to take you through the messenger because it's the exact same thing, just in a different space. Number 4 is a really big one. We've focused a lot on our program's functionality. So for several weeks on these state of the platform addresses, you've heard me talk about the emailer again and again and again, and how we've been enhancing it, adding functionality, adding protections, improving deliverability. I mean, we've had some major steps forward on that front. And right now that is looking amazing. We've now started focusing that level of attention on our program's functionality so that you can create courses and membership sites, and not just create them, but manage them really effectively. So we've got this Llama sharing masterclass. David, I'm going to answer that question in the Q&A section. So please ask that. That's a really important question, and I want to make sure that we address it. So just ask it in the Q&A section. So Llama sharing masterclass. I'm going to go into this program, and there are a couple of things that you're going to notice. The first thing is you can now manage your students. So on the top right, you'll see that you have students. It tells you how many students you have. You can actually access the students directly from the grid over here. So you can just click on students at the level of the program. You can also go to this little menu and click on students, or you can go into the program and then click on students at the top. And this is going to show you everybody who's enrolled in the program. And previously, you would have had to go to users and look at each user to see who's enrolled in the program. And now you can obviously see everybody at a glance who's enrolled in the program. On the right-hand side, you can also see their progress. So you can see individuals and how far they've gone through the program, when they enrolled, and their basic contact information. Now, from there, you can go to the user's profile. You can expel the user from the program, and then you can also update or manage that user within the program. On the top right, you can also enroll students. So again, in the past, if you wanted to enroll a student in a program, you went to the user profile and then you added them to the program. You can still do that, but now from the program itself, you can add a whole bunch of students as needed. You can even create new contacts and add them to the program. So here we have our list of contacts and how they are doing in the program, where they've progressed to. I'm going to go into one of those contacts, and then you'll see that you can see this person's engagement within your program. So on the top right, you can see that it's possible to reset their password or send them a new password or expel them from the program. These things, once again, used to be possible only from the user's profile, but to make it convenient, we can now do it over here. And we can see a whole bunch of things right off the bat. So you can see which lesson specifically this person, Amy Ramirez, has completed. You can see what is locked and what is available to your contacts, and you can also see what is visible to your contacts. And I'll unpack this in a moment, these different columns, but basically you can see exactly where a person is within your program. If you've got a gigantic program, and a couple of you guys have truly massive programs, Luke, I'm talking to you, you can collapse those and you can see the different modules at a glance, and you can see what's visible, what's locked at the module level, when things are going to be visible and when they're going to be unlocked, etc. So this is just a dashboard that allows you to see exactly where people are, but you can also then manage that. So you can see that right now, only the first 2 modules are unlocked, but I might want to go in here and unlock additional functionality. So here I've unlocked it all the way down to here. You can see that some of the modules are visible, and some of them will only be visible in a period of time in the future. And you can now go and say you want to actually show this module, and it become, well, in this case, it's going to be visible in a few seconds, but you've now revealed that. So you can manage what they can access, you can manage what they can see, etc., on a person by person basis. And it then tells you how much longer until the next section becomes available. So that's, you can see there a couple of seconds have passed. It now says visible. So that's a bit of the management. I'm going to go through to the program itself. And well, that's the main thing. So I've actually got one more thing to talk about here, but the membership management functionality. I know that Luke in particular has been really pushing for some of that functionality, and I think it's going to make it a lot easier for you to manage your students, to see where they're at, to unlock things and so on, where before that wasn't possible. So if you're excited about that, just drop let's go 3. We're progressing to 3. Drop a 3 in the chat. Awesome. I think this to me was one of the most exciting updates that we made in this release. Cool, loads of 3s, and I'm gonna progress onto my last point, which is also one that Luke really championed. A lot of you guys asked for this, but Luke championed this one. And that is how our delay functionality works. So there are a couple of things that we've changed. The first thing is we now show the delay. So I'm just going to just move that all out of the way. So on the right-hand side, you can enable your drip feed. You can enable or disable drip feed. So drip feed means that it's going to be a live, or an evergreen release of your content to your audience. So if you enable the drip feed feature, it means when somebody signs up, in this case, they're going to see the first module immediately. They're going to see the second module after 7 days, and then they're going to see the third module a further 7 days after the previous one. And there was some confusion about when this was actually going to be released. Was this 7 days from the beginning, or 7 days in total, or how did it work? And you can enter in the number over here, and it shows you that this module is going to appear 7 days after the previous module, but it also now calculates the total number of days, where before I know a lot of you guys were sitting there with calculators trying to set this thing up. So it's going to show you the number of days after the previous module, but also the total number of days from the enroll date before somebody sees this. The other thing that we've done over here, and you can see that we've tried to make this really obvious. This was a high, what we call internally a hotspot. It is a high friction area where a lot of people were logging tickets, just not understanding it. So we've really spelled it out in plain English. You know, it says over here, this module will appear 7 days after the previous module and 7 days after enrollment. So we've tried to spell that out in the tooltips as well. So hopefully we've made this a hang of a lot easier to understand. The other thing that we've done, though, is we've separated delays from bonus sections. In the past, if a section was a bonus section, it was visible automatically. So you couldn't add a delay to a bonus section. Bonus sections were just visible. And what a lot of you guys were doing is you had a section or a module in your program, and then you'd have a bonus module related to that module. And so what would happen is those bonus modules would be visible from the start. And so you wouldn't be able to create an effective drip feed in your program. So we've now decoupled those. So you can say that something's a bonus module or not a bonus module, and then bonuses can have a delay or they can have no delay. You can disable that. So that will make something available from day one or not available. And bonus sections now are a little bit different. Bonus modules are now never locked, and they are always excluded from completion statistics. So what does that mean? If I go in here, you've got these completion stats. Bonus modules now will be part of the drip feed if you set them up to be. If you want them to be excluded, you can just exclude them by saying that you don't want to delay that particular module. But a bonus section is now no longer included in the completion stats. So if you've got a core curriculum with, let's say, 10 lessons, and then you've got a bonus lesson, the completion percentage is going to be based on the 10 lessons, not on that bonus lesson. So it's a way of, you might have webinar replays and all sorts of additional things that you add over time, and you don't want that included in your completion stats, and that's what's going to be excluded here. The other thing is that bonus sections are never going to be locked. So locking and unlocking basically means that you are forcing your audience to complete the program in order from lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. This prevents people from jumping all over the place and then logging a bunch of support tickets. So you can enable this feature. Let me just go and show you how to do that. On the right here, you can say inside of completion order that you want to do it in, you can allow the person to do it in any order, or you can force them to complete it in the program order. And bonus sections, you can complete those particular sections in any order. You don't have to move through them piece by piece. So those are, I guess you could think of them as smaller changes and adjustments to how this works. But again, these were real hotspots, and it gives you a hang of a lot more flexibility to create programs in different ways. So I'm going to go in there and you'll see that now the lock unlock column is completely gone. That's because I just disabled the feature. I've set the completion order to any order rather than force program order. So that is the last thing that was on my list of important features to get through with you guys, how drip feeds and locking and unlocking, etc. works in the new version. Firstly, if that makes sense, just drop a 1 in the chat. And if that's going to be useful in your business, could you put a 2 in the chat? I'm interested to know how many of you guys are actually using drip feeds and the locking, unlocking functionality. Excellent. That's great. Great to see that we're building stuff that you guys actually want. Always encouraging. Cool. So those are the main things. I'm going to now just transition. There's a ton of extra stuff related to, I'm going to get into questions and answers in a moment. There's a ton of extra small things that we've done that John requested that I think is going to make the system a lot easier to use in general. But I'm not going to get into that now. We're already at 1/2 the hour, so I'm rambling. This is what happens when I'm left in a webinar without adult supervision. So I'm just going to try and rush through my last section, and then I'm going to come back for Q&A. Cool. So what I want to talk about next are the next steps for Funneler as a community and for the system in general. So I'm not going to give you too many specifics because we're going to be unpacking this over the next couple of weeks. But let me just start by talking about one of our core values. I've been talking to John quite a bit about this. And the way that we see Funneler is that it is first a community and second a product. So we're going to be very community orientated. And when there's a conflict between the business, in fact, I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point, because I've showed you, I might share it again when we get into the Q&A. But when there's a conflict between the business and the community, we're going to decide in favor of the community. So we want to be a community-led company, and we see ourselves as a community that happens to have a product rather than a product that happens to have a community. And so to that end, based on that value, we are going to, over the next little while, be adding a ton of community functionality. So I'm going to give you a couple of small examples, but the implications for this are quite far-reaching. The implications of this ethos are quite far-reaching, and the impact can be pretty exciting, but I don't want to get into the specifics of what we are thinking of doing down the road, because we haven't actually agreed, John and I, and I'm going to get into a lot of trouble if the first time he leaves me alone on a webinar, I start unveiling all of our future secrets. But I'll say that what we are planning for the next release is community-driven development, as in everything we do is based on the community. So we are going to add a feature to the system that will allow you to see all of the features or all of the functionality within the system and upvote it, downvote it, comment on it, make requests, etc. on those existing features. You'll also be able to post feature requests in this public space and other people in the community will be able to comment, like, unlike, etc., your requests. And as those features get likes and engagement and traction and comments, etc., they are going to bubble up and become more and more important. And when they reach a threshold, when they have a whole bunch of votes, etc., they are automatically, the feature requests will automatically be created as feature requests in our project management system, and our team is going to pick them up and start developing them. So if you've got a feature that you really like, you'll be able to request that feature, but then it doesn't just go into a dark box. You can request that feature, and then you can go and talk to people on the funnel, on the Funneler community. And I don't mean the Facebook community, because we're going to be replacing that with a community inside of the Funneler platform that is just going to be epic. But you're going to be able to then post that over there and say, hey, this is the feature I think I'd like to do, to champion. What do you guys think? If you like it, go and vote for it, go and upvote it, etc., comment on it, and you'll be able to pretty much lobby for those features. So it's going to be fully community driven, and we are going to take from the top of the list. So things are going to bubble up based on what you guys really like. You can get engagement from other people to support your feature requests and ideas, and we're going to take our development notes from you. We're going to be building whatever gets pushed to the top of that list. So that's an example of what we're going to do. There are far-reaching consequences, though. Beyond that, there are all sorts of cool things that we're going to be adding on top of that. But again, I'm going to get into trouble if I go into that too much. We're also going to be creating community functionality that will replace our Facebook group. So this is going to allow you guys to support one another, to engage with one another, for our support team to answer your questions in sort of a more public forum. As you help people, people will be able to upvote your answers. You're going to have authority and reputation. So as you engage more in the community, you're going to become like an MVP or a most valuable person in the community. You're going to get badges, and it's going to be gamified, and it's just going to be epic. So over the next while, we're going to be focusing on the one hand, we are going to be building new functionality. A big focus, for example, is the form builder, and there's going to be a number of cool features that you guys have requested. We're going to be doing that, but at the same time, because we are community first, we are going to be really focusing for the next little while on, functionality and systems and processes that will fully engage you and bring you into the fold and allow you to determine the path that we take, allow you to just determine the next steps for the product. And again, lots of other stuff, but I'm not allowed to tell you. So there's a lot of exciting stuff in the pipeline. Then the next thing that I want to mention is that now that we're in as of the next release, we're moving to Silver. That brings me to a level of confidence and comfort in the system, and it signifies the opening of our next intake of clients. So we didn't want to take anyone on board, any additional beta users on board, but now that we're in the Silver stage, in late September, probably, we're going to start accepting new customers. And in October, we're going to open up our affiliate system. So I know a lot of you guys have been asking about the affiliate system and when we're going to put together or release our affiliate program. And John's been saying we're not going to do that just yet because we want to make sure that we've taken care of you, we've implemented your features, etc., before we bring anyone else onto the platform. But now that we've moved into Silver and we've nailed down pretty much all of the real feature requests that you've put forward, I know that you may be thinking, but you haven't done my one. What I'm referring to here is the real popular ones where there have been loads of requests. Since we've done pretty much all of that, the only exception being the form builder, we now have the capacity to start onboarding new clients, and we're going to, with that, release our affiliate system, which is going to be awesome. Our affiliate program is not going to be anything like our competitors. It's going to be something totally new, totally fresh. And the idea there is going to be to allow you to build a business as an affiliate, in and of itself, as opposed to that just being a small secondary income that you plug into your business. We're going to make it powerful enough that you can actually go out and build, a solid revenue stream as an affiliate. So that's what we have coming up in the next release or in the next over the next month or so. If that sounds exciting to you, just drop a, we're going to go up to 4. Let's drop a 4 in the chat. And awesome. And then we're going to go to the Q&A section. I like to see the long string of 4s. Gene, that's awesome. So we're going to go into the Q&A. What I want you to keep in mind is that I'm borderline illiterate. So if you could keep your questions as concise as possible so that I don't have to sit here reading through, too much context. If the context is required, obviously stick that in there. But just try and keep them as concise as possible so that I can go through them rapid fire. Hey, Alison, are all the videos available to help up to date? So the answer to that is yes and no. We haven't reshot the videos. I'm going to start reshooting the videos once we've done our next release. There's still some UI things that we need to focus on. So probably towards the end of this month, I'm going to start aggressively, firstly, reshooting the existing videos, and secondly, adding tons of new videos to our library. The reason we haven't been adding new videos for the last while is because there's been such rapid change that if I were to redo the videos, I would have had to redo them again. So they aren't 100% up to date, but also the approaches haven't changed too much for the functionality that's already there. So you shouldn't, there may be some new features, but the features that I talk about in the training videos, those should still be completely applicable, and you should be able to follow the videos and implement everything on the system. Okay, Matt, I'm glad you brought that up. Hosting videos in-house or only off-site. So that's a big focus for our next release. So when I say next release, that's the wrong word. That's one of the big focuses I added to the September mission brief that I sent out to my team at the beginning of this month. Video hosting. So at the moment, when you create a program, you obviously have to host with your videos if they are private with Wistia or whoever. And we are going to be building video hosting functionality into our system in the marketplace. So it's something that is going to attract an additional charge because hosting and streaming videos is a very expensive thing to do from our side. So we are going to add it as a built-in feature. You'll be able to go to the marketplace and just enable that. Once enabled, you'll be able to upload your videos and stream them to your customers. And we're going to do it at a fraction of the price of most of the other people in the market. So it's going to be far cheaper to stream video with us than it would be through Cloudflare Stream or AWS, Amazon's video streaming functionality. So there will be a cost, but it should be quite affordable. Our goal isn't to make money off of this. It's to just cover the cost, as it is a costly thing to do. We wouldn't be able to just include it in the basic package. Of course, if you want, you can still upload your videos to Vimeo or wherever and keep on doing it that way. Can we put a lot of videos for our customers? Gene, I don't understand that question. Would you rephrase it, please? File hosting, uploading a PDF to like a download section and then allowing people to download it. So we don't have file hosting at the moment. You would have to upload it to Dropbox or something like that. And then you could still add the links and so on to our system, but you wouldn't be able to actually upload the file to our system. But that is something that is very similar to the video hosting. And I think it would be very valuable to add that functionality. So feel free. At the moment, we're still doing the old approach where you have to log a ticket if you have a feature request. So feel free to log a ticket asking for file hosting, and I think we can make that happen. So why is PayFast no longer supported on the new system? So PayFast was something that was supported in the alpha version. And the beta version, the one that we're on at this point, is actually a total rebuild. So it wasn't that we imported things, it's that the alpha version was essentially like an MVP, and then we totally rebuilt that to create the beta version essentially. So we have not, the old version hasn't got every single feature, or the new version doesn't have every single feature that the old version had. And that's just it's just a case of time and demand. If people want it, we will build whatever is missing. Obviously, the new version has about 500 times more functionality than that old version, but we had integrated in the old version with several payment gateways and so on that we haven't, when the alpha version that we haven't built into this new version. So there's no, it's not that, we are against adding it. It's just that there hasn't been a demand for features that were left behind relative to the others. So if you'd like us to prioritize that payment gateway, then obviously log some tickets. We have integrated other payment gateways that are similar to PayFast. Pay@, for example, that's one that the old system didn't have, that we integrated in the new version, which is a really, really nice payment gateway. We also have, so yes, that is Pay@, and then we have AdPay. That's another one that's similar to PayFast. Both of those have been included in the new version. So, Matt, you said October. Do you have any idea when? I can't remember the context for that question. Could you remind me what you're responding to? October, oh, for the videos. Right, so video hosting should be available during the month of September. I don't think it's going to take, I don't think it's only going to be available in October. I think it'll be available inside of September. It's always risky when I give a timeline on anything, because, we develop based on priority. And so if something comes up and there's just a huge amount of emphasis on a particular feature, things can slide back and forth in terms of the expected release date. But I'm pretty sure that the video hosting is going to be done this month. Can we integrate authorize.net as a payment method? We can. Please log that as a feature request. I mean, it's already a feature request, but by logging it, it's just going to be essentially an additional vote on that feature. There have been a few people, I think we've had about 3 people request authorize. So by adding that request to the pile, it does just tell us what the demand levels are like. And in general, guys, if you have feature requests, it's really valuable to let us know, because our development at the moment, it's not very sophisticated in terms of how you log your requests. But every time you make a request through the support system, that request is logged or in our internal management system. And so it does give us a really good idea of what you guys are looking for. Lisa Hugo, when can we expect a sitemap? So I don't know. Firstly, a sitemap is automatically generated, but it can't really be customized. We haven't put a lot of emphasis into SEO, because most of the people building funnels on our platform are using paid ads. That's not to say that you can't optimize your pages. You've got all of your tags and the ability to put in header code, and you can do pretty much everything. But if you're wanting to tweak sitemaps and so on, we don't have that functionality. So again, please log a request, and we can prioritize that. And as we go through this, it makes me feel more and more excited about the idea of moving to community-driven development, where you guys actually have a place to log this. Because at the moment, you make a feature request and it's kind of a black box. I tell you there's demand, there's no demand, and you can't really see that. And also you can't get other people easily to go and push a particular feature. So in the meantime, please log those requests, but in the next couple of weeks, this is going to be a much smoother process. So what does the front end look like to a customer when they're going to create a course? So I'm going to share my screen again. And this, as you can see over here, is a dev system. So, you know, this is literally people are actively developing. So it might look a little bit different, or like templates may not load or something like that right now. But let's just see if I can just demo this for you real quickly. Okay, so in fact, let me just go back a level. When you create a program, you have two different options, and there's training videos around this. The first option is for you to disable membership sites, and the second option is for you to enable membership sites. And if you make this into a membership site, then you can completely customize how everything looks and feels and so on. You can divide your program over multiple pages, and you can do all sorts of things. If you disable membership sites, then it looks very similar to something like Udemy, where you've got a list of all your programs and the person can click on it and see the program in like a pop-up space. So I'm just going to go through, there's videos explaining how this works. So just real quick, I'm going to show you how it would look on a membership site. On the top right, I'm going to click on program pages. I'm going to go to membership, my membership site over there. And then I'm going to apply a template. And when I do that, you'll see that we have a whole bunch of templates for membership sites. So I'll apply this one. And here you can see kind of what it would look like to a customer. So we've got lesson 1, 2, and 3, and this is within that specific module. And I can go into the settings, and let me just go back a level. You can see over here that we have module, our 3 different modules, module 1, 2, and 3. And those then, and with lesson 1, 2, and 3 inside of those modules. And you can now, by just applying that template, go ahead and customize this however you want. And it's not showing the additional modules. Again, this is a dev version, so things like that are expected, but you would be able to, you know, customize the look and feel of this however you want. You've got the full page builder power to do whatever you need to do here to make this. Oh no, that's not actually. Let me just go back a level. Let's just turn that off. Go back to the membership sites. Oh, would you look at that? They weren't showing because of because they were delayed. So not a bug. Great. But anyway, here you can see what it would look like to a customer. So they can go through the sections, they can open the lessons, and the lessons open in a pop-up. I haven't actually added any content to the lesson, and that's kind of how it would look, but you can customize this quite extensively. So I'm going to stop sharing. All right. So that was what it looks like. So is there a way that we could have terms and conditions pop up when a person signs in to a program? At the moment, we don't have, well, you could kind of do that, but it's a bit of a workaround. The way that you would generally do that is you'd add a terms and conditions acceptance checkbox to the checkout. So you can create custom fields like terms and conditions acceptance, and you can add those to the sign up process, the checkout, or the opt-in, or however people are signing up to get access to your program, and they would accept it at that point. We can, I know that John has actually asked for the ability to display it in a pop-up when the person signs in, and you can do a pop-up, but you can't really, it's not ideal. There's a workaround, there's a way you could do it. You could ask support if you'd really like to do that, but it's not ideal. The way that it's designed right now is that you'd include that checkbox in the checkout process or the sign up process. So I'm hoping for a path for general and specific newbie help, and a way to converse with experts and users once Elite expires. So you basically, if I understand, what you're looking for is just a way of engaging with the community, engaging with people who have more experience than you, and just getting feedback, etc. If that's what you're looking for, then that is going to be possible over the next little while when we start implementing more of the social functionality. we've got some real exciting ideas to fully integrate the social side of things with the Funneler platform, as opposed to having the social stuff kind of on the side. So that is something that's going to be possible. Let me know if I've understood your question correctly, though, and feel free to ask follow-up question. So I think you guys are missing the points that SEO is based on accessibility. It brings down the cost per click. So you can, in terms of SEO, you can pretty much do everything. I may have led you, I may have confused everybody when I said that we haven't really put a major focus on it. It's not that we don't have SEO functionality. You can search engine optimize your pages. The way the pages are rendered are friendly to search engine crawlers. The way you can tag and structure your pages, the way you can set up your metadata, all of that stuff is there. And the question that I was referring to specifically was related to your sitemap, which is also there. It's automatically generated, it just can't be customized. So we have a ton of functionality related to SEO, but it hasn't been a primary focus. So over time, we will add a whole lot of additional functionality to that, and will allow you to create and customize your sitemaps and do other things like that. But the functionality does all, does like 99% of what you would need is there. Right. So are you starting to have any kind of industry of techie dudes who are wanting to work as contractors with Funneler? That's part of the thing I'm not allowed to talk to you about. We have got some exciting ideas and plans around that. At this point, though, the main reason I don't want to tell you stuff is because we haven't fully agreed on anything. So I don't want to say we're going to do something and then we end up not doing that. So I want to try and be measured with the things that I say. And if I say we're doing something, it means we're absolutely doing it. But we have got an idea of an ecosystem that we could build around the system, because as I said, we want to be community focused. So that goes beyond just customers. There's potentially a broader community that could be brought into the system. But, there's a ton of ideas, but nothing has yet been completely finalized. Can we do an email sign-up list pop-up on our website? Yes, you can. There are a bunch of different ways that you can create pop-ups. You can have pop-ups that display when a person tries to exit the page. You can have pop-ups that display once a person's been on the page for a certain amount of time. You can have pop-ups that display on button click. You have simple and advanced pop-ups. So you can have pop-ups that are fully designed as designed as a web page, for example, where you have images and just whatever you want. And then you have simple pop-ups triggered on a button click that just contain a form. So there's a ton of functionality around that. And support should be able to point you in the right direction if you've got some specific questions around that. Also, check out the training videos on YouTube. I've got a whole section on pop-ups. So do we still need a separate email service like SendGrid, or can we use Funneler's own system now? So you can use Funneler's own system now, basically, is the short answer. Funneler, the IP addresses are clean. We've put in place a ton of protection, but the thing to keep in mind is that when you're sending emails from Funneler, we have leveled up security about 1 billion-fold. And so it is possible, and we've even had a few people report this, that you could end up with your account being put into review or something like that if you're getting high complaint rates or either spam complaints or emails bouncing or whatever. Theoretically, that should be very difficult because we automatically filter out bouncing emails before we even send emails to them. But if you get complaints, and if we detect that you are doing things that indicate that you're not looking after your list and you're not practicing good email marketing principles, then we will suspend your sending privileges to protect the community. So just basically what I'm saying is if you're sending emails through our system, you need to make sure that everything is permission-based, that the content of your emails is high quality, that you have a good open rate and a good click rate, that people aren't, just deleting your messages for the most part. We also have some functionality that allows you to send emails only to people who are actually engaged, and using that functionality is going to help a lot as well. If you're always sending emails to people who are fully disengaged, that's going to start counting against you in terms of your delivery, your sender reputation. So you can send emails through our system, but you really have to focus on making sure that you have a good sender reputation for your sake and for the sake of the community. And I don't have this up in front of me right now, but our deliverability stats at this point are insane. Like our mail tester score on our top tier IP addresses is 14 out of 10 at the moment. So we are crushing it in terms of deliverability. But the flip side of that is that to achieve those, we've had to be pretty, strict about ensuring that the messages being sent from our system are quality messages and everybody wants to receive them. Can we list contacts by registration date? Yes, you can. I'm going to share my screen again with you. So there are a couple of things here. Well, firstly, if you're just looking for this, to do it by enrollment date here inside of the program, you can do that. But also inside of users, we have the ability to create views over here. So you can create views, and inside of those views, you can create custom filters. So you can say, give me all people who registered within this window in the last whatever, and you can create basically custom views to organize your contacts. Okay. So I understood the newbie question to be requesting a quick start pathway to set up our accounts and programs. So that is something that we have some plans for. Donna, sorry, I had to just expand the screen here so I could see a little bit better. So we have got some plans for that. The idea is, firstly, we have got a quick start series, but with our training videos, there's just tons of videos, and a lot of the time folks don't know where to get started. We have a quick start playlist, but often that's not something that is found very quickly. So what we are planning on doing in a future version is, when you sign up, you go through a little wizard, you tell us a little bit about your business, and based on what you tell us in that little, in the little setup wizard, we create a custom quick start playlist for you, where we combine the videos and resources specific to your type of business to help you get started really quickly. So that's one of the things we are planning. And again, I'm always nervous telling you about things that we're planning if it isn't imminent, because it may take a little while given how much we're planning. But yeah, so that is something that we've been thinking about. Okay. So I'm interested in finding out how far we are in upgrading the order and payment process to streamline and automate the completion process from order to enrolling. So the question, removing and changing fields in the checkout, ordering and invoicing, changing language, etc. So those things, in terms of the automation of somebody buying, getting login details, accessing a program, all of that stuff is already automated. The questions that you've asked here specifically seem to, be a little bit different from, or the examples are different from my interpretation or understanding of your first question, which is automating the completion and ordering and enrolling process. So you said removing and changing fields in the checkout. So this is actually a very common question, and I'd like to address this. The fields in the checkout, we require those fields for fraud prevention purposes. So we have algorithms that run when people make payments, and we basically prevent people from fraudulently collecting money. We also pass them through to Stripe, which has anti-fraud functionality. So that's the one thing. Second thing is that a lot of our functionality relies on some of the information, like the address information, to calculate things like taxes. So the fields in the checkout for security, for fraud prevention, for the functionality of the system, and then also for compliance reasons, in many jurisdictions, invoices require certain information. And if you're selling to a global client base, somebody could buy from a location where certain information needs to display on the invoice. And so there are a number of different reasons for the fields that we have in the checkout, and they are pretty integral to ensuring security and compliance and so on. So we may find ways to open that up and allow people to do whatever they want, accepting the consequences for themselves. But at the moment, we basically ensure compliance by requiring certain information. Then paying with other methods other than credit cards. So we've got, for example, we've got a couple of different options there, like PayPal. But if you're looking for specific payment gateways, then you can request them. You can pay with custom payment methods and with 3 or 4 different payment methods right now. So adding to those is just a request per integration that you're looking for. If you've got more specific questions, then like changing language, that's another one that you have. So multi-languages in the roadmap, but I think you might be the first person who's asked us about it. So it's already something in the roadmap that we put there, but there's not much demand for it at the moment. So that's something that we'll prioritize. You can say, by request, please send through a support request. So there's a whole bunch, there's a whole bunch of feature requests wrapped up in that, and we'd have to break those out individually and address them one at a time. Yes. So do you have any videos, the workflow process for creating the landing page with a seminar tool for webinars? Yes. John's team at AdClients have actually put together a specific video showing you how you would implement webinar funnels on Funneler. So when Luke asks, when will the webinar functionality be added? So we're not planning at this point. There's no specific plans to add webinar functionality. Webinar is like a whole category of its own. I would love to add it, but it's like it's basically a whole nother system. It's gigantic as a category. So at the moment, we are, going to rely on Webinar Jam or Stealth or one of those, and we'll just integrate with them as we are currently doing. And an update on the survey functionality. So that's the one feature I was talking about. I called it forms, but surveys, that's the one feature I was saying that is highly demanded or in high demand that we haven't yet created. I'm hoping that we're going to get started on that next month, but it is huge. It's an absolutely enormous project. And so, and honestly, we're still fighting over the user interface and the design and how we actually want to implement it. So I'm hoping that we're going to get started on it in October, but I can't make any promises on that. That's an essential feature required for us to achieve gold. It's one of the reasons that we are still silver and not gold, because we haven't added that feature. So can we get email notification when we get a ticket in the help desk? We don't offer that feature at the moment, so please log a request and we'll see what the demand is. We had some other ideas around how we could, we were hoping to avoid email, but it is something that is possible. So, yeah, please log that. Possible to have relevant tutorial video links in the page that we are creating or editing. Yes, that is something that we can do. And the functionality actually already exists for that. I've just got to create all the training videos. And as I mentioned, we've been delaying that pending the release of the version that is all styled and so on the way it's going to be in production. So Luke says, when we log a support ticket with you or Funler, we get an email to notify us that a response has been added. Can you please confirm if there's an option for our clients to receive a similar email? I've noticed that our clients don't get, don't monitor their tickets. So Luke, yes, it is possible to do that. Everything that you see us doing, you can do, because we obviously use our own system. We're a product of the product. So you'll go to notifications. In fact, I'll just share my screen. I think we're getting to the end of the questions and we're 10 minutes over time. So I'm just going to do one or two more, and then we're going to call it. But I'm going to go over here to the messenger. Then I'm going to go to notifications, and I'm going to add a notification here by clicking add on the top right. And you can see that one of the options here is ticket, and we can create a new comment notification. So what this basically means is it's going to be triggered when somebody adds a comment to a ticket. It's going to send an email to the client. And then it's just a normal email from that point, and you can customize that email as you see fit. And it's just going to be triggered on that event. You can add a link so that your clients can click on that and see the message and so on. I probably can't ask, is Funler interested in eventually replacing EverWebinar? So yes, we are interested in eventually replacing EverWebinar. It's just a really big thing. So it's the sort of thing that we would probably look at after we, after we really established in the space that we are currently working. So this is the last question, Mike, I'm going to answer yours, and then I think we're going to call it. So how can we have a webinar sign-up page which adds leads to the Funler list and registers them to the webinar at the same time? The way that you do that is by opting the person in to the webinar software and then using Zapier to add them to Funler and tag them, etc. And as I mentioned earlier, AdClients has created a video tutorial showing you exactly how to do that. Cool. So that's it. We're done. Hour and 12 minutes. Sorry, I was 12 minutes over time. I am a bit of a rambler, especially without John here to keep me on the straight and narrow. But thank you guys so much for joining this webinar. I had a ton of fun, and I'm really excited about what's to come in the next couple of versions. I am so passionate about this product and this system that we're building together, and I love to get I love to see your feedback and your requests turned into actual functionality. The whole process to me is just such an exciting one, where you guys make requests, then I'm able to come onto a webinar and show you, hey, you guys wanted this, here it is. It really brings me a tremendous amount of joy. And I'd like to request that you guys keep on investing in Funler, in your requests, in your comments, in your feedback. I truly value it so much. All of your requests do get through to me and to the team, and we work really hard to implement everything. From this next version, when you guys start seeing the community and the whole functionality around requesting features and so on, I would like to ask that you really get stuck in on that, so that we can really together as a community push this thing into the stratosphere. Again, our focus is first community and second business. We are focused so completely on you guys and on your requests and on ideas. And you guys are so much more creative than I am. And you guys collectively are so much more creative than our team is. And so, keep feeding us with your ideas. And based on that, we're going to build the world's most epic funnel builder. So thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again next month for our next State of the Platform. Cheers.